Imagine a cold, dimly lit evidence room. Thousands of tapes and digital files are collecting dust, forgotten. What makes this recording so disturbing isn't just its content, but the exact moment it was made. Hours after the police had officially declared the crime scene clear, secured, and completely empty, the recording starts in a deceptively ordinary way. You hear a dense silence, broken only by the static hum of electronic equipment and some faint, almost unnoticeable background noises. To an untrained ear, it sounds like an accident, like a recorder was just left on in a deserted room. In fact, that's why investigators almost dismissed it at first. And even more unsettling, a voice in the background that doesn't belong to any of the officers listed on that night's entry log. There's a moment of hesitation captured on the tape that says everything. The officer making the recording suddenly stops, and his breathing changes. It's the sound of someone who has just realized something is profoundly wrong, but for some reason, maybe fear, maybe orders, chooses not to say what they're seeing. Years later, this audio recording would become the most controversial piece of evidence in the entire case. It didn't just contradict the official timeline presented in court. It completely disproved the sworn testimony of high-ranking public safety officials. The tape proved that the story sold to the press was a carefully constructed narrative, and the reality of what happened was far more chaotic and much darker. When independent analysts and acoustic experts finally got their hands on a secret copy years down the line, what they found was shocking. They noticed that the sonic properties of the recording, things like the echo of voices and the way sound bounced off the walls, simply did unmatch the description of the room where the crime supposedly happened. This opened a terrifying door to two possibilities. Either the tape was deliberately mislabeled to throw off the investigation, or the crime scene itself was physically altered. Asterisk after asterisk, the forensic work was officially finished. What happened next took place behind the scenes. A silent internal investigation that never made the headlines. Instead of transparency, there was a damage control operation. Officers who had direct contact with the audio were suddenly reassigned to distant districts or pressured into early retirement. Key documents related to the tape were sealed under the vague excuse of national security, and the original recording was locked away in a high-security safe with a simple, direct label: "Do not circulate." The system tried to erase the audio's very existence, but they made one crucial mistake. They underestimated the human factor. Someone, driven by guilt or a need for the truth, duplicated the digital file just before all access was permanently blocked. Listening to this leaked copy with high-fidelity headphones is where you get to the most critical part of this story. Near the end of the recording, the officer, who was supposed to be narrating evidence for protocol, just stops talking. The recorder keeps running, capturing the ambient sound for several long minutes of pure, agonizing tension. You hear a heavy sigh, a pause filled with uncertainty, and then a whispered phrase so low it's almost lost in the white noise. It's a whisper that suggests they found something at the scene that defied all logic. Something that couldn't be explained by a medical examiner's report or a routine investigation. Then, the recording ends abruptly with a dry, sharp snap. It's cut off right in the middle of what sounds like the beginning of a scream or a protest. It's clear that someone reached out and hastily switched off the device by hand. There is no explanation in the file for why the recording was interrupted. It's the standard boilerplate response used to silence curious people and shut down any debate. If the police never intended for this recording to be heard, what exactly were they trying so hard to hide? Why would they create an official story that ignores physical evidence recorded in real time? Perhaps they believed that no one would ever listen closely enough to notice the inconsistencies. But now that the audio is out there, the silence they so carefully protected has become the most deafening noise of all. It reveals that sometimes, The greatest threat to justice might be hidden within the evidence room itself. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as chilling as I did, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss our next investigation. See you next time.